Good afternoon and welcome to our Year 11 exam update. We're just waiting for a few more people to log in and join us. The number is going up rapidly, so if you can just give us 1 minute and then we will begin. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll just pass you over to Mr. Garrido, the headmaster.
Right, hello everybody, Happy New Year all. I'd just like to start by starting with a prayer. I think if Mr. Ferreira could just mute himself, then we won't get feedback. Okay, so let's start in our normal way. Let us remember that we are in the holy presence of God. Let us adore him. Heavenly Father, we pray for those who are suffering from this COVID epidemic at the moment. Particularly at this time, we pray for those in our community who are finding it difficult. We also pray especially for parents, guardians, relations who work in the health industry and the health sector for the amazing work that they're doing. We pray for ourselves, that we'll be guarded and protected in our families. And we ask this in Jesus' name. St. Joseph, pray for us. St. John Baptiste de la Salle, pray for us. With Jesus in our hearts forever. Right then, well, Happy New Year. These are certainly unusual times and quite dark times. They say that the darkest time is just before the dawn. We know that there is a dawn coming with, in terms of the vaccination, and we do hope that that will start putting things back to normal. But it is really important that I start by saying that you need to keep yourself safe, you need to keep your families safe at this time, and to certainly be following the government guidance of hands, face and space. We know that this new strain of virus is 75% more infectious than the previous one, and it is making young people your age sick. So you do need to be careful, and you do need to sort of pay attention to that government guidance. You know, our hospitals are at their limits, and we don't want our families or ourselves to be in hospital or being treated in that way. So that's the public health warning from me. Exams, obviously the most important thing really on your minds in terms of your futures at this moment. So what do we know, and what does that mean? Well, in terms of what we know that there are not going to be a full set of exams, written exams, this year for you. And that's about all we do know at the moment. We don't know how you will come to get your final grade, how we will be told to assess it. So what does that mean? It means that everything that's been said to you before this year about all your work being really important and assessed, every homework, these things absolutely really matter. Your effort, your engagement in lessons matters. I can remember sitting in grading meetings last year, talking about individual students as we went down the list, one by one, and the conversation would go, right, what did they get in their mocks? What did they get in their tests? You know, what did they get in their homeworks? What was the quality of their classroom work like? And also, you know, staff were talking about, well, he asks really good questions, so he really understands what he's trying to do, and he answers questions well. So this sort of thing is really important. Everything that you do over the coming weeks, it really does matter. Your effort, your engagement, your submission of work will determine your final result. So it's 100% in your hands. There are not any excuses. You know, there are no points where you need to try and get out of things. If you do, that will affect your final grade. You have more control, more power in your hands now than you ever have had, because what you do will determine your outcome. 100%, because what you do, we will see. Okay, so, you know, we do also think that you probably will be the first people to come back after half term, if it is half term. It probably, I think, may be more likely to be around Easter. Excuse me. So when you do come back, there will be a lot of tests going on, testing everything that you're doing now, everything that you're learning now, so that what you are doing now in terms of what you do in class, into what you do in terms of homework online, or both online, what you do in terms of your revision as well, will also be assessed. So we will then need to use that time when you return to collect the proof of where you are, the standard of work that you're working at, and that will determine your final grade. Because we need as much information, because we are going to have to standardise across the country your result against everybody else. So we need as much information as possible. We do expect that you probably will need to be in school until the end of June, beginning of July. And we'll be using all that time to be able to assess you and to gather as much information and proof of your standard of your work. I do assure you, as a school, you know, we're going to do all we possibly can to support your achievement and get you the best grade possible. However, it is up to you, and we can only do so much. You know, 90 to 99% of it comes from you as an individual, what you can demonstrate. So what you do from now on, what you've done so far this year, really matters. I'm really pleased to hear reports from your teachers to say that, you know, the attendance in online lessons is really high. The engagement is really high. So that shows that you know that it matters already and you are doing the right thing. So do keep it up. I know it's really tough. It's really tough sitting in a room watching a screen for the day and keeping up with things. But as I say, you've got probably more control than anybody else in terms of your final outcome. So grasp hold of that and make something of it. So thank you for that. I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Cabrera, who's going to give you a bit more detail. Thanks then. Good luck. Look after yourselves. Keep safe.
Hi there. I've just put on a screen. A lot of what I'll be saying will be reiterating what Mr. Garrido said. I will be passing over to Mr. Nelson in a moment as well. We have got the Q&A open. I have already got 2 questions from someone asking, which I will address at the end. So if you do have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to send a message through the Q&A. Based on last year, as we said, students did not sit GCSE or A-level qualifications last year, and teachers were asked for centre assessed grades. the process of deciding that was done under very strict guidelines from the exam board and government. Teachers did that process. It included not just prior mock results, but as Mr. Greedo said, evidence from work and tests done over time. But we don't know what that criteria will be yet. This is really important. Everything we can't stop, but we do not know, so we cannot tell you what your grades will be going forward because we don't know yet how we're meant to be assessing them. When you get predicted grades on your reports before, and I've had requests from students for college applications, for sixth form applications to St Joseph's, even just, we want to know where they are. What we've been giving you is a guide, not definitive, because what we've been saying is based on previous exams, based on old grade boundaries, based on what we think, based on what we've seen students in the past do, this is what we think you should get in your exams. But each set of exams is new. Each set of exams has its own exam grade boundaries. Liken it to a race. You could set a world record in a race and still come last. If everybody else ahead of you set a faster time, a new world record, you'd still come last. That's how the exam system works. This is now different. So asking us, well, a teacher said I was going to get a 7 or I should get an 8. We will not be held to that going forward. Grade predictions going forward will be very honest. They will be hard and harsh because we will tell you what we think once we get the criteria, and that is the caveat, and I have to keep saying that, once we get the criteria, we will be updating you as regularly as we can with what we are going to predict you based on what we are seeing. As Mr. Greedo said, it will be based on attendance to online learning, on completion of work, assessments, including mock data when we can do them, but we might well be doing mock exams and mock testing online. We can set up a session using Teams where you have your camera on, we observe you for half an hour doing an exam-based question, and then you submit it straight away back to us. We will look at whatever we can to try and maintain the standards that we need once we're told how we're assessing you. Reiterating, we don't know what the criteria will be yet, so I can't give you that information just yet. But you cannot ease up as a student. Your sons, if you're watching as a parent, cannot give up, and they cannot assume that they will get the grades they want. Last year, we were told very late that the predicted grades from teachers were going to be used. And I must admit, I was inundated with people saying, well, I want to appeal. I want to appeal. I want to appeal. I doubt there will be an appeals process, because how can you appeal what a teacher's opinion is based on the evidence that we give? And if we have that evidence, it doesn't matter if you want an 8 or a 9 or a 7 and you're predicting a 6 or a 5. But we will tell you all along what you'll be predicted. And it is really, really important that you engage. If we have the evidence that you're not attending lessons, you're not logging on, you haven't done the work that we've asked you to do, then you really have no leg to stand on to even question what we do. So as I say, there were unlikely to be an appeals procedure based on last year what happened. I'm getting some letters, so I will have a response to them in a moment. I'll now pass you over to Mr. Nelson.
Good afternoon, Year 11 parents and guardians. As Mr. Greedo has said and Mr. Cabrera has said, we are in unusual times, and nothing really has changed, because ultimately it boils down to you. And I have said to you in assemblies countless times over the last 4 years that everything counts, everything matters. Everything that you do matters and counts towards what you're going to achieve. You've all been studying and working hard since you were 4 or 5 years old towards what was supposed to be a period of time where you sat exams, and that's now not going to be the case. You are going to be essentially from this point onwards in an exam constantly from now until you leave. And it is absolutely vital that you do everything that you can. And really, it's an opportunity because, as Mr. Garrido said, it is in your hands. It's in your hands from this point on, and really, you can achieve what you put the work in to achieve. And so, with that in mind, we must ensure that the period of time that we spend that school is closed and you're at home, and I know it's difficult, as Mr. Garrido said, it is difficult to study at home, to motivate yourself. It is difficult, but it is vital that you attend every single lesson, that you engage with every single lesson, because it will matter. More than ever, it will matter what you do in those lessons, how well you ask questions, how well you're prepared for it, how much work you do, the work you submit, it all matters. And following on from that, attendance to the tutorials, AM and PM, is absolutely vital, because that is your opportunity to ask questions, to raise concerns, but also to demonstrate your readiness, your eagerness to learn, that you're there, that you've got up and that you're there and that you are ready to do your very, very best, and it will matter. And in terms of home learning, again, as I said, it is difficult, but let us know if there are any problems. If you've got an issue with your laptop, if you've got an issue with internet access, if you've got an issue in terms of the space that you've got to study in, please let us know, and we will do everything we can to help where we can. And again, just going back to online lessons, do the work that's set. Don't think, oh, it doesn't really matter, because it does. Your exams start today. They start now. And you need to do every single bit of work that's set, every single bit of homework that's set, you need to do it. And going back to your tutorials, ask questions. You can email me, email your tutors. If you've got a question, any kind of query about lessons, about anything that's to do with your studies, please let us know. And we will do everything that we can to help you. And finally, don't be surprised. This is us telling you. The government have passed down to us information so far, and we are now letting you know the situation that you're in. So don't be surprised. Make sure that you are prepared. The next 3-4 months is everything. That's what you have. You have this time now to provide the evidence, to provide the proof, to show just what you are capable of. And once we know how you're assessed, we'll have the evidence to back up our grades. We can't just go, oh yeah, here everyone's a 7, everyone's an 8, everyone's a 9. We're going to need to evidence that. And it's your opportunity in the next few months to provide us with that evidence. And I believe, and I said to you again in assemblies many, many times, that you are capable of so much. Now's your chance to shine. It's now your chance to show it. So please give it everything that you have for the next few months. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Mr. Gray.
Just want to reiterate what Sir just said. We have the power. We have the power. You know, those students who left it to the last minute would always come good in the exams. That unfortunately, if you're that sort of student, you've lost that. You've lost that. That's gone. My screen's also gone, but it's come back. That is the power that we have now, because we are the ones who are you know, making those decisions. And so you need to engage with us. You need to do what we ask and what we need you to do. You really do. It's really important. So, you know, looking at a quote from Henry Ford, you know, it's coming together is a beginning. We've done that. Keeping together is where we are now. Keeping together is progress. And working together from this point forward is success. And we really think that that is an important message that we need to be sending to all of you. It really is. Let me just see what's happened here. Not sure why it's not working. Sorry, I'm not sure why it's not working. Okay, sorry. So you should now see me, hopefully. Hello, Mr. Greer, give me the thumbs up. Yep. So I've got some questions that we've been asked. Will there be centre-led examinations instead in June? There might well be. They will be doing mock examinations. They will not be external assessed exams. We've been told that. But again, we are waiting to hear. But if you're asking whether we will be doing some sort of testing, yes, I think that's only the fair way that we can do that. I think that's the only way we can go forward doing that. Can we have copies of their mock papers? Students should have copies from individual departments when they've done assessments. So if you contact the individual teachers, they'll be feeding back. But it's going forward. We will be obviously offering regular feedback. Will students get in trouble if we don't attend live but still do the PowerPoints? It's going to be really, really hard for us to assess and test their knowledge just because they do PowerPoints. It's really going to be important. With all due respect, we don't know who's doing the work. So we need to have that regular contact with the student to actually assess them and to be able to be confident and also to be fair that we feel that we're being fair in what we say. So we really do need them to attend those sessions.
Can I just comment on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And you know, it's not about getting in trouble anymore. It's about you proving what you can do. And the thing is that as Mr. Cabrera just did say, you know, if you're there asking really good questions, if you're there really, you know, answering questions as well, it makes a big difference. And these lessons are live for you, and that is going to sort of help your teacher understand your thought process, what you know, what you can demonstrate really well. Because sometimes, you know, people fail at exams because maybe they were orally brilliant and understood the concepts and could talk about things really well, but yet they couldn't necessarily write it down very well in the exam. You now have the benefit of showing your knowledge through orally, through what you say, maybe in your live lessons. Okay, so that's just one point there.
Thank you. Will you provide cameras for families who do not have them? We don't have the facilities to provide everyone with a camera. There are various ways you can log on. You can even do so through your Xbox or your PlayStations. Through your mobile phones, you can access the lesson live. We don't have access to that amount of funding. We have been given an amount of laptops to lend out to parents who don't have access. We're currently running nearly at capacity and they've all gone. So we are stretched. We are waiting for the government. I know they've said things, but whether they actually provide it is different. However, what I would say is that they are relatively inexpensive on Amazon. You only need a cheap camera if you don't have one on your computer. If you're really, really struggling with that and you have absolutely no needs, then please contact us directly and we will see what we can do. We do not have access or funding for that at the moment. A request would be able to share the slides. If it's these slides that we've done today, then yes, I can make them available for parents, and I'll make them available online. And this presentation will be going on to YouTube afterwards. We'll be downloading it and putting it on there. Very professionally done, as you can see. If your broadband doesn't work any particular day, I'm going to suggest you contact your broadband provider. And that sounds really sorry, really with no disrespect intended, but we're all in the same boat, especially teachers working from home. We need to work. We need to make sure it works. So, I mean, if it's not working, then just make sure you let us know. But if it's a regular occurrence and say you're not accessing any lessons at all, then that will be a concern. We will be sending home a report each week, basically an attitude to learning online report, which basically will let you know as a parent, and will let your parents know that how many lessons and sort of, you know, you either are yes attending all lessons, doing all the work, or attending most of the lessons, doing all the work, or not attending lessons at all. So we will be keeping a check of that, and that is what the tutorial meetings next week are also about. How often will our boys be given an update on the predicted grade during the lockdown? As soon as we know how they are going to be assessed, as soon as we know what the criteria is that we need to use, then we will look to put down a programme. I'm not going to commit to a time frame, but it will be as regular as we can feel necessary. And hopefully teachers will be letting students know in every lesson where they are. So we will let you know. But again, I'm just going to hold off fire on that one until we know. What's the most improvement I can make on the grade my teacher gave me if I work really hard? Depends how hard you work. That's obviously a question from one of our students. And you know what, work really, really hard. If you start demonstrating that you're performing at a level 7 or a level 8 or a level 9 or a level 6, then that's your level. So it really is down to you. You know, what we see now, what you're demonstrating now is what we're going to mainly be using. How can I confirm that my son is going online and taking a class? we will be informing you regularly if your son is not logging on. I mean, ask them. You can check on Show My Homework. The work should be submitted. You should all be logged into that. If you don't have that app, please download it. And as I say, we will be sending home a weekly report to parents. Can I stress though, please make sure that we do have an up-to-date email. I did send an email out regarding this presentation today. Please make sure we have up-to-date emails, up-to-date mobile phone numbers, because the one thing that does halt our communication is that our system doesn't have the right number and the right email for you. Will my son get lots of advice on what type, any type of that we set from now? As soon as we know what's happening, we will let you know. So we will give you as much advance notice as soon as we can. Can my son submit any extra work he does, for example, in private tutoring lessons? Hopefully, the extra tutoring he does will be seen in his work for us. So yeah, we will not be relying on what a tutor says, because a tutor doesn't have the overall picture. So your tutor might say, oh, yes, he's going to get this. I wouldn't rely on that. The grades we get, if you feel it's not right and if there's extra work, but if you've got private tutors working with your son, then hopefully that will impact on the work they're producing for us. So hopefully that will be how it works.
Again, can I just jump in on that one? So last year at A-level level, we had a number of students who had private tutors, whose private tutors were sending assessed work in for them. If they do submit any work that they've done through private tutors, that's absolutely fine. You know, we can look at that, although we will still assess it against our criteria, and we will rank it within our order. Okay, so certainly if you've got additional evidence of additional work, that is going to be a good thing, you know, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's not necessary, you know, and we're not saying that everybody needs to go rush out and get a private tutor. It's not necessary, but if you know, it will add to the picture. Can I just also say one thing about broadband? There is a scheme, and we're not quite sure how this will work yet, but Croydon are looking at an additional cap on broadband through BT Internet. As soon as we find out more information about that, we will contact you if you have got problems maybe reaching your internet caps. Okay, but again, this is all new information that's being sorted out as we speak.
I've just had a message from Mrs. Mantillis, who's watching. Hi, Mrs. Mantillis. That maths gave all their papers back, so the maths papers apparently were given back to students. Will the children do their mocking exams in class or in the hall? We don't know yet. We will do everything to make sure that students are safe. We will always conduct everything we do will be in a safe way to maintain our students' safety at all times. We don't know yet. We don't know when they're coming back. We don't know what they'll be doing, but when we do, you can trust us that we will do it in the best way to maintain the safety of all our students. And whether they'll be tested on all the GCSE content and mock test, we don't know. We don't know what we're guided on yet, so we will wait to see. So I can't comment on what type of test they will be. Do cameras have to be on during lessons? It's good sometimes to see your face just so we can engage with you. So if they can, yes, that would be advisable. But if there's a problem with that, then you can let your class teacher know. The best thing is to make sure you're listening and you're engaged, because no teachers want to talk to you, so make sure you engage back. Will the boys get a GCSE at the end of the year? Based on last year, all the students still got GCSE certificates. So yes, we envisage that the exam boards will still be publishing exam certificates at the end of the process, and they will still be going through governing. What's really important for us is to make sure that, you know, what we say is a grade 6, somebody else in another school doesn't give their student a grade 7, and our students are disadvantaged. So we're waiting for that information. But based on what happened last year, all students still got their certificates. You can jump grades for working really hard. It will be the grade you're demonstrating. If you demonstrate that grade will be the grade that you're given. So, you know, it doesn't matter where you are now. It depends what you'll be demonstrating and what you'll be achieving going forward. How as a parent can I know what lessons are taught daily being taught? You should have, parents ask how they know what's being taught on a daily schedule. That information is put onto Show My Homework. As a parent, you are able to log into Show My Homework and can set up alerts so that you know what work's been set and when it's to be submitted. I know that because my daughter's in year 10. She might be watching. Hi, Lola. But I made her, so she doesn't want to. But what I will say is that I get regular text messages and emails from Show My Homework Satchel 1 telling me that she's had work set and the work's there. So you should be able to please log on to Satchel 1. If you have a problem with that, just contact Mr. Nelson. He's an expert on that. He'll be able to let you know.
Also, lessons are just following everybody's timetable. So just look at the timetable. That's when the lessons are at those times.
Reports, people say they can't find it on the link. I will resend that report. If you have downloaded the MyEd app subsequently, I will resend those reports out so they are on there. So you should be able to get the old report. There won't be catch-up lessons as that because they're not quite working that way. But once we know what's going forward, how we're going to be assessed, we might well be doing other things to help you to achieve the grades we want you to achieve. I was told the boys will be sitting there at exam. There are no exams going on in January at all. There are no IT exams. The students were communicated with. All the exams at the moment have been suspended, so there are no exams at the moment. Students do get their attendance recorded when they join online lessons. Yes. We don't know exactly when students are going back to school. We'll have a response to a question that we do not know. You know as much as we do. We have been told that it will be until February half term. We've now been told it's probably going to be extended to March. So as Mr. Garrido said, we don't know exactly when it is. It will depend on the vaccination process and how things proceed. But we envisage, it's just our prediction, that year 11s will be the first ones back when we do get that way. That was always the intention.
So just in on that, so you know as much as we know, around about mid-February, around about the 12th, 13th of February, there's a meeting of SAGE. They're going to come up with projections on the R rate and also the hospitalisation rate and how affected we are in our area. I mean, we're tier 4 at the minute in London, so we're at the highest tier we can possibly be. After that, we will know whether or not some students may come back after half term. If they feel that it's still too risky and the virus is transmitting too much and hospitalisation and cases are still growing or at a very high level, then I presume they'll say, no, you've got another 2-3 weeks online, maybe even, as we said, up to Easter. So we absolutely have no idea. This is changing regularly. Over Christmas, it was changing practically every day. We've got a little bit of security and certainty now up to half term, and then we'll let you know as soon as we possibly can.
I had a question: what if my son wants to get a good grade in his previous mock but doesn't do as well in these mocks? We don't know how the government are going to ask us to judge the predicted grade yet, so all that will be part of the process. It isn't just based on one test; it is based on a total of tests, a cumulative process of all tests over time. So if there's one aberration, then there's one bad test, then hopefully the others will be able to make an announcement, but we'll have evidence for that. If that's the only evidence we have, then we won't be able to make a very good judgment. So it's really important that all work is done and all assessments are done. It won't just be based on one particular test at a time. And I can't give feedback to those people that are asking what kind of test there will be, because we don't know. We don't know yet, and we'll be planning how we can do assessments. There might be some online tests, there might be some end of topic tests, and as I say, we won't be able to give a timetable of when mock exams are because we don't know when we're coming back. So being followed.
Whatever the tests are, we will make sure that they are as accessible to you as possible. So we will tell you exactly what's going to be tested and how it's going to be tested, hopefully. And so you've got plenty of time to prepare for those as we go forward.
Had a request, where do I find my login as a parent? I'm not sure what for. If that's Show My Homework, that's if you contact Mrs. O'Connor. But if you send me an email, I will be able to respond to you with what you actually want. I'll be able to try and put you in the right direction for that person that asked that question. Revision packs in maths, yes, obviously they've been delayed because we're not back in school from the parents' evening. So we're having to look at ways of doing that. But I can assure you that everything we provided online for the students to use. So I'm sure that Maths will be providing the revision packs. But as we don't know what they're revising for now, we're just going to wait for how we're going to be tested, because it might give us a bit more scope to adapt things. The request for how we're going to give work to the boys in regards to wellbeing, that is what the tutorial sessions are for. The tutorial sessions are for tutors to check in with their students. There is also a system being established where each student will get a phone call once every 2 weeks just to check on them on the wellbeing call, which a member of staff will be making to them just to check their wellbeing. So there are plans and there are processes in place to check on wellbeing. There is homework and there is class to submit, yes. Staff have been asked to do homework and classwork. Yeah, there are lessons during the day where they'll be doing work in that hour. Lessons rarely one-to-one online rarely are a whole hour. So there'll be work to be done in the lesson, and there'll also need to be homework that needs to be submitted as per the normal homework timetable. It's important that we carry on setting homework. If a teacher is unwell and won't be able to do the online class, then there will still be work set for that class. So there will still be work set. There won't be an option when no work is set. Just a message from Miss Cole saying that IT did put the information on Teams as to the exam being cancelled. Yes, students will be given time to revise. We won't just turn around and say next week you're doing a revision, but as Mr. Nelson said, work as if you're in an exam now. All the work you're doing, all the work you're producing for homework and in class, that will contribute towards your knowledge base. And then when we know what we're doing and we have an opportunity, we'll give you plenty of notice what testing we're doing and when we're doing it. Just going through the last of them. There will be another parents' evening online once we know more about what we're doing. We will be, and once we start assessing the students' grade, we'll be putting another parents' evening on. Possibly we'll be doing something, might be near the end of January, but we're not sure yet. But there will definitely be another parents' evening happening. All students can improve the grades they've got already if they log in, they work really hard, but also if they start achieving what they do. So it's also acting on the feedback they've been given. Just attending lessons doesn't mean you'll get a better grade. It does mean you also have to do the work and listen to what the teacher says, act on the feedback, and obviously work hard.
Can I just say, just adding to that, you're quite right. It's not just submitting work or even working hard. You have to still demonstrate that you can do things. So by submitting tasks that can be marked and graded, that's where you're going to be able to move your marks up.
Yeah. The presentation, I said, yes, you can go back and listen to the presentation. It will be available online, and we'll make sure we send a link out to parents when that's available. So we'll just, once this is over, we'll download it. I'll pass to Mr. Rimmer, who's the YouTube expert, and he will upload it to YouTube, so you'll be able to watch that online. There is something, as the guys have just adjusted, will be some flexibility during this week for their attendance. No, we've been working this way during the last lockdown. Many students have had to work remotely. I mean, yes, we will always take into account reasons why people are having troubles logging on and accessing. But if it's a case of them just staying in bed and not getting up, and that's what they're attending, then no, they need to start working from the morning tutorials upwards. If there is a problem with them adjusting, if there's a problem with them working from home, then you do need to let Mr. Nelson or myself know as soon as possible, and we will do something to help them. But we really do need to start doing things to go on, because we really don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that has to be the final message from me before I pass back to Mr. Greedo. We don't know. We don't know exactly how they're going to do it, but we know they are. So we're doing the best we can to make sure we're prepared and our students are prepared for the best. Mr. Greedo, pass over to you.
One question I think we missed there was to do with there was a rumour that Maths and English could.
Oh, sorry.
Can you mute? sorry, Maths and English could be tested externally. That is at the minute a rumour. We've had no decision that's going to go ahead. I doubt it will now, because obviously it changed after that. But as everybody said, there will be internal tests on specific items that we need to assess for students. So thank you so much for your questions. You know, how long will students have to revise for their mocks? You know, we will give you as much time as we possibly can. Again, once we know more, we will come back to you, do one of these sessions again, and give you more information. As I say, it is a constantly changing picture. The government have had plenty of time to start working this up and understand what to do. For some reason, they haven't seemed to think that it was important to do that. So they've now just told us that there's going to be a short period of consultation whilst they agree what to do, and then they will let us know. So we are in their hands. We continue to, and our teams, our heads of department, teachers, continue to give all the right information and learning that you need in order to complete exams. When we know what's going to be assessed, we will tailor what we're giving you so that it's really focused on giving us the evidence that we need in order to support your success. So thank you all very much. Look after yourselves. You've got lessons this afternoon. Again, if you need anything, contact us. Contact Mr. Nelson or your teachers as soon as possible, so that there's no problems at all that build up. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Look after yourselves, and goodbye.